Good evening. Happy Friday. Hey. Well, I came to you this evening. And we've been look, we had so much stuff going on on social media with Funky Dineva and everybody. I said, well, let me do something in dedication to my mama. So I think the war has stopped between the two. Funky Dineva said, as long as you don't come at me, I'm not gonna come at you. That was the last gauntlet he made. He said, but I better not be getting no more subliminal messages. So I said, let me come up here for a little quick second and I'll give y'all a little story time. And this is dedicated to my mother. And that's the lady in the picture with me, my mom. We both got birthdays coming up. Mine is next Thursday and hers is the week after on a Wednesday. So I'll be 53 and she'll be 70. So let me start out right here. We're going to take a little quick trip down memory lane with my mother. My mother's name is Gaitha, and she's named after her grandmother. But my mother, she was one of the best moms, one of the best moms I know. She's my mom. Married young, divorced young, never remarried. Her and my dad are, they real cool. And she was a woman about her business. She made sure she got her degree, and worked in her field and try to do, the things that make us, feel like middle class kids. Most kids thought I was the only child, until they knew I had two brothers. But my mom, she took care of business. She bought her home when she was, how old was my mom? 28 when she bought her home, and hell, she's been living in it ever since. My mom always believed in having good credit and all that kind of stuff. And your name, because my grandmother, she is still that. Your name means something. So, you don't want to mess up your name. So if your name means you're trustworthy and all those kind of things, So you go a little stroll down here. So this is my mom. And we were at this one day after church. So it's me and my two brothers and my mother. So I had a pretty mom. It's me and my mom here. Again, this is when we're in Houston. I was about to turn 14. Okay. And so I was about to turn 14. So I was 13. So if I was 13, my mom was 30. Okay. This is my mom on my birthday. Hold on a second. My son is calling me because I'm coming over there in a minute. Give me 1 second. Seems like my son always called during my lives. But it'd be important. So this is my mom. We were celebrating our birthdays. I turned 50 and she was turning 67. Okay, so we had a party together. And this is me and my mom here last Christmas at my cousin's house. So I got a bump or something on my chin, but that's me and her. So let me kind of go over what didn't happen. My mom, she's a teacher. Well, she's been substitute teaching for years. And for the last 3 years, she had been working in a Catholic school. So she was teaching first grade and pre-K. So this year, she went to another school district and she just, substituting so she can just kind of work when she wants to. But she took on a month assignment for fifth graders because the teacher had to get surgery. So my mom had noticed something on a Monday. The principal had to talk to my mom, and the principal said that, the teachers are not supposed to touch the children. If there's some kind of altercation, let the administrators know. She was like, okay. She said, I haven't touched any kids. Well, it was a little boy who had gotten questioned. And because another boy had said that Miss Gray had touched the kid or, grabbed him or something. So, and the little boy who got questioned, he was like, Miss Gray didn't say anything. She told us to stop running, but she didn't do anything. So that's number one. This is on a Monday. Tuesday, my mom comes to work and she goes into the classroom, but then they said they need to see her in the office. And then the principal informs her that a child has said that she has touched him. My mom said, what? And she's thinking touch. She's thinking like, if you say touch, like sexually. So she's like, definitely not, So only be around these kids, in a place, these not like they're preschoolers, or people who need help in bathrooms or nothing like that. So she's like, I don't know. Mind you, my mom is shorter than me and I'm 5'1". Okay. So she was like, I don't know. So then they were asking, like, do you remember, asked her, I guess, what happened the day prior. And my mom said, there's always teachers that come in and I guess, and teach certain portions of this classroom. And there's, I think these are para teachers, but they don't have like the credentials to be a teacher. So they had to have her be the sub because she has the credentials. So she was like, there were several para teachers in there. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So the little kid, fifth grader, who is my mom's height, name is Memphis. I don't know last name, but I will say his name is Memphis. And he's like this. He said that my mom, they were supposed to be taking a test and he was standing taking the test and he didn't sit down. And she came over and grabbed him by the neck and to lower him down and to force him down into the chair is what he said. I'm like, so when she found out, she was like, what? She said, I've never touched him. She said, what do I look like? First of all, my mom is about to be 70. First of all, he's this color kid. And he's her height. Or maybe even a little taller than her. So I'm like, that sounds crazy for a fifth grader. So they said he even have marks on his neck. And my mom, so she said that morning they had her down there. She had a cop because the parent had called the cops. So the cops came in and read her Miranda rights. And my little brother, who always used to be in trouble, he was like, I thought once they read your Miranda rights, you going to jail. They about to arrest you or something. My mom has never been in no kind of trouble. Never, ever, ever, ever. Never, she cares about all them records, her criminal history, her credit. I mean, everything, everything, over, 800 plus credit score. She's never been in no trouble before. you know, she walks with the Lord. She's over the women's fellowship at our church. So I'm like, wow. So she had to sit there through all of that. And then finally, once it was over, she was wanted to call one of us to let us know what was going on. Because as a substitute teacher, when you come there, they give you a key fob, but you have to give them your keys. So they took back the key fob, but they still had her keys. And she said, my phone wasn't working. It had me standing out in the rain. It was just crazy. And, you know, my mom's short and she chubby. And I'm like, shoot, she's almost 70 years old. This is enough to probably make somebody almost, you know, have a stroke, or, you know, she don't have any high blood pressure or diabetes or nothing. But, you know, to stress you out like that and know you haven't even did anything. And here my mom thinking, what is going to happen? So they took her off the schedule. So therefore she lost money because she's on administrative leave. And, you know, it was bothering her because it bothered me. She called our pastor. She talked to another school teacher to find out, you know, what should she do? Because I'm like, you need to lawyer up. And then one school teacher said, I probably would wait. And our pastor said it too. But, you know, me, I'm ready just to jump the gun. Because I'm like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. First of all, to have your name sullied like that. And then what happens, you know, because first of all, you know, what would be in the papers? Black teacher, white, you know, a 10 or 11-year-old elementary kid. And I just was like, okay, so he's already told that you're supposed to have hit or did something to another kid. But when they questioned this kid, the kid said, no, Miss Gray just told us to stop running. But you supposed to did all this to him in class. There was not a commotion. Because if you grab someone by the neck and then to leave marks on him the next day, I would be surprised that he wouldn't even try it. He's just like, when I came up through school, you know, the teachers can take that paddle and wear you out. It ain't that time no more. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, which way was you supposed to do this, Mom? Was you supposed to have been standing behind him or in front of him? Because in front would have been the desk. You already short. So I'm trying to figure out how you were supposed to do this. She said, I don't even know. She said, because I don't even touch them kids. She said, I was whenever I talk to them, I always have my hands behind my back. They would never say. I was like, okay. So how do we, I said, so I wonder how they're going to do their investigation. She said, well, they need to talk to the other teachers that was in the classroom because there was other teachers coming in and out. I said, but he had enough, you know, enough to try to go and advocate for somebody else that he said that you hit, but yet he couldn't advocate for himself. And he went home and then told his parents. I don't know when he told the timeline from when he went home and told his parents, but then his parents had called the police. So the police had got involved. Then CPS got involved. And my mom had told me, because, you know, she haven't really heard anything from the school or anything after that long day. And, you know, just know she's off the schedule. And I was like telling her, because she came up, once she was able to leave, she came directly over to my house. She called me and she told me what happened. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You know, I could see, you know, like the fear in my mom's eyes. You know, she never had anything like this associated with her. Never had nothing associated with her potential trying to get in any type of trouble. And my mom goes, I just don't understand. She said, because I told him, because he kept talking, I said, I think I might have to, you know, move your seat. She said, you know, because this is not working. She said, but when we moved him there to, you know, just to put him there the first time, the other kids had to, you know, help move the chair. She said, but because I'm not doing all that kind of stuff. She said, shoot, I'll take the elevators in the school. So I said, and you supposed to have been able to do all this to this boy? I said, I could see if you stood over him and you were taller, you know, and younger, you know, and stronger. I said, Mom, you like, even though to me, she's forever this chick in my head, or this chick, this is who I think of my mom? That's the chick I think of in my head. I don't see this chick here. I don't see her. I see this one. Because maybe forever in my head, I'm that kid. So I'm like, you're almost 70. That's really wearing on me. You're almost 70. I'm like, I just don't see how that would be physically possible. So I went and tried it on my grandson just to see if I could just grab him by his neck and sit him down without him like trying to resist. And honey, I tried to grab him, and then I was like had to push on his shoulder because I couldn't do it with one hand to try to make it go. I'm like, I don't see how physically she could do that. Especially with a kid that my grandson respect me. This little boy don't, he just came into his life a couple days ago. So she had been off. She had been, talking with the pastor and everything, and she's a part of a prayer group they do every morning. What do you call them? Like phone prayer line? The prayer lines they do every morning at 6:30. It's women, pretty much from Fort Wayne, and some women who live in other cities and stuff. And the one lady who lives in another city was one of my mom's good friends. They've been friends since my mom used to look like that. And earlier, lives in Atlanta, and she had informed the ladies of what was going on. So they really have been praying for her. And like I said, it's been bothering me because I'm a worry word. I worry about everything. So, my mom had talked to my brothers about it because I do. One of my brothers is a school teacher, and he teaches social studies, 7th grade social studies. So, but he teaches at a charter school. So my mom, she was worried. I could see. So my daughter had been off a couple of days. So actually, she was on vacation, so her and my mom kind of hung out a lot. So this week, I think it was Tuesday or Monday, she had got a call from CPS. But when they called, evidently she missed the call or somewhat. So she said, I'll call them the next day. So next day, my daughter came and took her to go doing water aerobics, try to get her mind off of it. So they went and did water aerobics, and then they walked around the park. And by the time my daughter dropped her off, the guy from Child Protective Service was at her house. And I know my mom probably could have shitted bricks. I know she could have. I know, because normally with something like that, she would have probably much rather, like, if she knew this person was coming, she would probably wanted somebody else to be there, the kind of witness. So I know my mom was nervous because when I talked to my dad about it, and his memory kind of come and go. Long-term memory is good, short-term is not that great. But he was talking, he said, I know your mom is tripping. He said, because she ain't even never been in jail before. He said, I know she worried. I said, yeah. He said, I can't believe that. Since my mom was never the kind of person, as I was coming up, I can't remember too many of my cousins that even got a whooping by her, or her just messing with other people's kids. Because I would always tell her, I said, you too nice of a substitute or teacher. You let them kids kind of run all over you. Because one time when she was doing it with it, I think it was a pre-K class, and at the Catholic schools, I'm like, can I run a daycare? Why your room looking like this? Some kids, and I started going in there, rearranging stuff. I said, you don't let them pull out everything, But honey, by the time them kids was coming out of there, honey, they definitely knew how to read. And my mom was an accountant by trade, honey. They knew definitely how to add. Add is a track, honey. I said, them little kids in that class was probably excelling everybody, because I know she did a good job there. But the thing was, so she worked at that school and another Catholic school, but they didn't want to keep her on, because one school she worked first grade all last year and they paid her all most of the summer, but they really wanted somebody who's Catholic, and she's not. We're not Catholic. So she was so as we know, we praying and stuff, and I'm worried to death. So when the guy comes there and he talks about, because she calls me after it happened, I'm like, the CPS came for real? She's like, yes. And she said he told me he's closing the case on it. And she's like, and I guess she was kind of confused. Well, she knew she didn't do nothing. He said because he told her the name of the boy, she figured it was that boy because when she got called to the principal's office, she seen that boy and his mama there, Memphis. And the guy said the other little boy that was supposed to be his witness, when he was questioned with his dad there by the CPS people, the little boy said Miss Gray didn't do anything. He said that she didn't do anything, and how he got the marks around his neck is he took his necklace and did like this. This is 5th grade. So when, so she had been praying. So she calls me and she tells me, I'm happy, like, thank you, Lord, hallelujah. Then I instantly get mad, really, really mad that a 5th grader, I'm like, when I was in 5th grade, I know times have changed, but I still believed in Santa Claus. I still played with dolls. But to see your parent so stressed and worried, it bothered me so bad. It bothered me. I'm like, but this little boy, for whatever reason, decided to try to ruin her reputation and possibly, mess up her freedom. She already done lost money for not being able to work. And I'm like, how are you going to be made whole? She said, I don't know. I said, you need to be calling the administrative officer over there. Somebody need to be paying you. Because that job assignment was supposed to last until late September. Someone would have to pay me. I said, I don't know if you need to be on city attorney or whatever, but somebody needs to pay you. Like, funky, I need to get paid for my pain. And I mean, just the stress. I mean, because I'm worried about my mom. I'm like, I hope she don't mess around, have no heart attack worrying about this, because we don't know. We living in a time where it's a racial divide. I can't help it. I'm going to just say it. And if you have an issue with me talking about race, it is what it is. But us Black people know. Point blank. And we live in Indiana. So how it would look, I said, my mom probably would have been 20 years younger and maybe more in shape, it could have went left for her. You know what I'm saying? And or let that been a man. And I thought, because what if that would have been a Black man and a white little girl? I just it did something to me. It really did, because it really made me think how, we didn't all seen about this Diddy stuff and everything, and we have our, our opinions or whatever, but when it's something that happens close to you, I got this dang on thing said Heart Hustle. He said, let me get that off of there. But when you got something that's close to you, your issue becomes different. I don't know. It becomes different. I'm not saying, I don't know Puffy him, I don't know. But this is my mom. This is a lady I grew up with. This is a lady who tried to instill right and wrong. This is the one that made me get up and go to Sunday school. This is the one that I had to go, and my mom sung in the church group. We had to go to her Wednesday night practices. We had to be in church on Sunday night. We had to be in church, regular church on Sundays. She instilled the word in us. Like my little brother said, when I get grown, I ain't never going to church. And he kind of kept up with that until his butt got into some trouble. And that Negro said, Jesus. I said, oh, you called on the name of the Lord. And he has to try to think of something to get a prayer through, because he was nervous about the situation. But I know we had called on the Lord. Thank God, things worked out in her favor. But I am so mad. I am so mad because I'm like, he already tried to lie on her before and then turn around and lie again. I would be afraid, the principal probably can't tell everybody what happened, but I wouldn't want to come in and be his teacher. That would make me totally nervous. What kind of child is this? And I thought about, because I'm like 5th grade, acting, setting up a scheme like this. But then I thought about the little girls. I think it was earlier this year. I think it was like 4 or 5 little girls or something like that. The police, I ain't gonna say arrested, but they had to go to the police station. So they had plotted to off another little kid because she was the one little girl was going with him. How y'all going with each other? But you know how we thought going with each other was. But he was cheating on her. I said, what is cheating on in elementary? Because he did that, they set up a plan to end this little boy. And I think the ringleader, the little girl, from what I heard, now I don't know how true it was, that like she kind of like laughed about it, like because she knew she wasn't gonna get in too much trouble. And these were all these color kids, 5th grade, plotting to end someone because he cheated on you. So I said, let me come down because I just want to know. Y'all drop down in the comments the first replay game. Let me know. How do you come back from something like this? Because my mom, I know she probably, she was doing it, to have extra money. When folks get older, they don't like fixed income. Now she can work and make all the money she want to make. And she thought, because she done paid a lot of her bills off, and she thought about buying her another car. But she's like, well, maybe I might have to drive Bessie a little bit longer because I don't know if I got to deal with these kids. I don't know. Is this it was very shocking. It was shocking. I was too outdone. I mean, but honey, I was so mad. I said, I want to see his mama. I said, because I want to whoop her ass. I'm not lying. Because I feel like, I know we can't say what our kids gonna do, but at a young age like that, and for me to call the police, because I would definitely, if I'm about to call the police and my kid is lying, and you lied right before I tell me you lied before I'm gonna tear you up, because you ain't gonna never do this to nobody else. Never. You gonna know I mean business. So I don't know. First of all, that wouldn't even been a thought. It just would not have been a thought at all coming up when I was a kid. But even if my grandkids or whatever, because I remember my daughter, she got in trouble at school and they tried to give her a referral. And I'm the kind of parent, I'm not gonna, I'm a ride for mine though. I am. My husband, he believe everything they say. I'm gonna get the benefit of the doubt and try to figure out, what's going on. So one time my daughter was coming out of a class, and I guess she bought candy in that class, and it was a black teacher that was, had like little penny candy or whatever, and the kids could buy in the classroom. So, because my daughter had a rough time her 6th grade year, I'm gonna just put that out there. Not really that talk back. It was all all that kind of shit. So she would do that. So her 7th grade year, she's getting along fine. So she bought some candy from this teacher, and she had it in her back pocket. So when they got ready to, switch classes, another teacher that she had from her 6th grade year saw the candy in her pocket and took it out her back pocket. Now, at the time, she had on these, like, the little form-fitting, like, little jean pants. What was it back then was out? Baby fat, I think it was. She had on some of them kind of pants, you know. And so they tell me about it, and I actually teachers thought they had checkmate. I'm like, you know, she had candy and she wasn't supposed to have candy in school. I said, well, she said because, you know, where we live, there ain't no corner stores around here. And she ain't walking to the grocery store to go and get no candy. So I'm like, she said she brought it from the teacher. And I gave the name because actually I knew the teacher. We always go to church together as kids. As a matter of fact, her dad used to be my mom's insurance agent. And I said, she brought it from this teacher. And they said, well, maybe she should have just put it in her purse. I said, she don't carry a purse. I said, but I like to know why, because he grabbed the candy from out of her back pocket. I like to know why his hands were so close to her ass. I had all of them in there gagged. Because the honey is about to try to give her all kind of referrals and stuff. I'm like, no. Why was his hand so close to her ass that he felt the need that he needed to go in her back pocket and grab her candy out of there? Because when he saw her, she was at her locker, and she said she was about to put it away. I said, so when either you tell that teacher she can't sell candy in the classroom, or something, well, she should have she should have did nothing. I said, if y'all don't want something else on your hands, you best to leave my daughter alone. I'm not fucking playing with you. Now, my husband would have went there in a whole nother demeanor. But I'm like, because I got to think, that's why is he digging in her pockets? She in the 7th grade. My daughter at the time in the 7th grade, she was a shapely little girl. So she probably was in 7th grade, probably weighed about, I don't know, 120 or something. She's like 5 foot. But she at that time, she probably was nice, maybe 5'1" at the time. I mean, but she was probably mostly top heavy. But, you know, she still had a cute little shape on her. I don't know what the heck. So, you know, but I always taught my kids, you know, I'm not going to go all the way sideways and accuse the man of something crazy. But I just pulled that card out because y'all was trying to give my baby a damn referral for having candy, which she bought at your school. So, but I do, you know, I'll listen to both sides. And anytime, my kids ain't never came back and said a teacher did something to them. You know, because I remember one time my son, who never gets in trouble at school, but a little white boy called up a hawker and spit on him. I think my son might have been in 3rd grade. And my son at the time, he was a little heavy-duty little boy. My son hit that little boy so damn hard and knocked him out the chair. So they were going to suspend my son and not the little boy who spit on him. So they called my husband. My husband coming up to the school. My son crying because he just know he about to get a whoop. Oh, he crying. He crying. He crying. Because now my daughter, she would have never cried. You ain't gonna never see her cry. Now she knows she probably gonna get in trouble. And she gonna talk her little mess. My son, he was a good kid. So he crying because he know he about to get in trouble at school. And he told my husband what happened. So when they went to, he said, so you're going to suspend him? Or I think it was like one day, like ISS or something, but not the boy who spit on you? Because my husband said, because if you was a spit on me, he said, I would whoop your ass. They so used to my husband kind of coming in there, but you know, believing everything that they say. They were shocked, like, oh, no, we're gonna be fair all the way around. Now my daughter, because she would always say, don't call my daddy, call my mom. So they got to the point they want to call me because they want to call him because he's gonna agree with pretty much. I was like, no, I want to hear both sides. I know what kind of kid she is. Now, I know you're not going to sit there and try to tell me like she done cussed you out, because that's something she's not going to do. You know, definitely not in elementary, definitely not in middle school. You know, just certain things she ain't going to do. Now, if you push her too hard, she might, you know, say, you know, talk a little smart or say something under her breath. But she wasn't that type of kid, you know, because there's certain things you just know what your kid is going to do. And I'm just like, going back to this little Memphis boy, the parent didn't have no idea that this little boy, because to me, to come up with a scheme like this, you have to already been a liar. You have to been a known liar. And to do like this with your necklace to try to make it look like you got marks on there. Because I'm like, Mom, if you would have grabbed that boy like that, and he ain't, explode in the classroom, I said, because I'm pretty sure something like that would have happened in the classroom. Other kids would have been talking about it. You know what I'm saying? When stuff, I know when we used to have little stuff going on in school and stuff that happened in the classroom. Because I remember one time one of our teachers, I was in 7th grade, I think, 7th or 8th grade, and she'd be up there painting her little nails. And she was old. She should have been about ready to retire. I can see her right, Miss Spaheen. She'd be up there and be nodding. And the kids would take the little, balls of paper and throw up there to her desk. And we'd be in there laughing or whatever. But like I said, back then we still can get paddles. So you ain't want to cut up too bad. They send you to the principal office, you're about to get a paddle. And that was in middle school. So I don't know. I said, I hate that for my mom, but maybe I don't know what God's plan is, but I think his plan is to sue him. I would sue the whole district. I started with his mother because you shouldn't have raised a kid like this that could just make up this blatant lie. And you should have really, because if it wasn't for his little buddy who did not corroborate that boy's story, because I believe his parent was like, hey, whatever little buddy name is, hey, this is real. Now, I don't know what kind of game you playing, because it made me feel like with the Salem witch trials when the girls kept saying different people was witches. I don't know why they got after her. So my mom had talked to another lady that worked for the same school district and worked at that school before. Because this school district, a portion of our city is in that school district, but it's actually a school district for like a little small town named New Haven, like Leo, and just little small white towns, right? But the southeast side of Fort Wayne is like a smaller neighborhood, but it's predominantly Black, or a smaller area of town that's predominantly Black. And like the schools that were a part of that school district, because I remember we used to live on one side of the street and the other kids live on the other side of the street. So we were still part of Fort Wayne community and they were East Allen County. So East Allen County encompasses all these small little towns too. So at the time when I was coming up, the schools that were in Fort Wayne that were East Allen County, that's predominantly Black, Black schools. Most of these kids that went into these schools, they probably, their parents had good, good factory jobs because they lived in the, back then in the, the nicer little Black subdivisions, where mostly Black stayed, I ain't gonna say it had whites in there too, but, predominantly mostly Blacks over in this area. And they probably worked at like the Harvester, GM, Magnavox, GE, places like that, or BF Goodrich. And so the schools they had here in Fort Wayne, I think they had a couple of elementaries and a high school, and they had a middle school. But what they done is got rid of the elementary schools, pretty much, that was in Fort Wayne, and bust these kids out to these small white towns. I said, if I would have been a parent, I'd been upset because I remember my sister-in-law, her kids had to go to, I think, Heritage. Then she decided to put them in a Catholic school. But I'm like, your kids getting busted out to these little white towns. I said, that's really messed up. I said, because usually if you're trying to play any kind of sports or whatever, and, mostly, you know how it is. I said, and they got to try to, make sure that they have a way back or, because it's a smaller school district. So I don't know how the funding works for as far as extracurricular activities or whatever. But I remember I used to work with a girl because we were both in high school, but she used to live in went to school at the school called Heritage. I think it was called. She lived in a town. I think it was called Monroeville. And I don't really think at the time she had really never really seen a Black person really in person. Let me tell you, this is how the areas work. So now, it's more diverse because in the little town of New Haven, they started building different subdivisions, and a lot of the neighborhoods are being mixed. But I remember a time when Blacks did not live in that town. So to say that my mom was to grab a little white boy and choke him out and try to put him out in the chair, and she almost 70, I said, Lord, what kind of kid is this? Well, I don't understand it, but thank the Lord that it's over and done with. I know she's happy it's over with, but I know there's going to be some trauma, so I think she need to get paid for her pain. Totally paid for her pain. But let me know what you guys think. How would you handle that? And I was so nervous. I already got my dad in the rehab. I don't need my mama to, something to happen to her, because she's always been the one that you come into a jam. She's the aunt that still had a landline. She's the one who's still taking everybody prison calls, trying to help figure out how to put money on their books since they didn't move everything to the computer. She the auntie. I mean, even like my cousins on my dad's side. My mom had been divorced from my daddy 40-something years, but they still call her Aunt Gaither. And whenever one was, in there, if they had to, try to get a hold of somebody, they call my mom. Aunt Gaither this, And when they got out, they come. My mom needed help. They come over and help my mom. I'm like, my mom is not that kind of woman that would just, go out and just try to do something to somebody. Because she was so lax on my brother. That's probably why his butt stayed in trouble. Now with us, she ruled us with like an iron fist. I'm not going to say that, but she wouldn't have fed, don't let her break a nail, honey. She's going to tear you up for real. But I never know my mom to try to discipline somebody else's kids. Never. Not even too much, not even really with the grandkids. Not that much with my son, a little bit, but not really. She just did. That was not really her. I said, oh, she didn't really got soft since we didn't grow up. But back then she was a young woman. My mom was divorced by the time she was 20, about 25, I think, and with 3 kids. So. And she made it do what it do, honey. Because I ain't know about no, come up in no household that had to get no food stamps. We went on no government assistance, none of that kind of stuff. I mean, she had a good job. She managed her money well. And we ain't had no cable now. My mom ain't believe in that. But we did family trips. My parents would still do things together. We'd go to movies and stuff. We just did. I mean, like middle class things. I mean, even when I was in the picture I have where me and my mom together, we have on tan. She flew us down to Texas, all of us. First time I got on the plane, I'm 53. I'll be 53. I was 13 when she flew me, my brother, and her. We all went, my brother, I think he was 6. That was something back then because, people just didn't fly like that. That's back when they gave you a whole lunch on the on the flight. And she always, tried to make sure she did stuff with us. I appreciate her, but I just hated that my mom get to be this old and had to go through something like that. And my uncles, because he's an engineer, he said, yeah, you make it so you ain't gonna never work again. And I'm thinking, yeah, because you have to, if they're not talking about paying you your wages, I would definitely have to go and see about getting an attorney and see about getting a lawsuit going, because this is just ridiculous. Because, how do you come back from that? She lost money. And then he was on hold. Depending on how it turned out. I don't know. I think she might be a little nervous now. Because you don't know. I mean, because I told my mom, I said, well, what if he got this is before we, she talked to the CPS people, but I'm like, what if the whole class is in cahoots? How do you, I mean, they should have cameras in the class or something. Because I remember my son used to do peer tutoring at the middle school, but he was in high school, so they got to leave and do like tutoring at the school, and that was part of like the credits for that 9 weeks. And they go in because my son used to play football through school, so most of the football kids would go back to the middle schools and tutor some of the kids, you know. And I told them to be careful. Cause my kids are nice looking. My son, he was really nice looking. He got long dress. Well, his dress was probably about this long when he was in high school. Yeah, probably a little longer than this. I got mine kind of layered, but a little longer now. He about down to his butt. And nice little caramel brown boy, nicely built. He used to be a little fat boy because he used to do the transformation twos, and he'd show a picture of him with an afro when he was in I think the 6th grade, and people would laugh. They would call him Cleveland. And then he grew, because I was like, I didn't understand, because me and my husband were both so thin. I'm like, why is he so chubby? And my husband's father said, he's just like how I was. He's about to grow. Because I'm like, when is this boy getting so chubby from? Because he always played sports. And then he really worked hard, like his 7th grade year, going into 7th grade, to lose weight, because he said he wanted to go swimming. He didn't want to wear no t-shirt. So he goes dropping that weight. And honey, the day that the swimming pools opened up, it rained the whole day. He was mad. He was mad. And so by the time he was in 8th grade, he weighed as much as he was in the 6th grade, but he had grew like 9 inches. So he had slimmed down. I said, boy, I didn't know I was going to have a brown skin, a little chubby brown skin boy, and turned to a little slim dark boy. Because, he was, they had all that summer gym and everything. He been working out. Dang near my complexion. But, I don't know, just thinking about how my kids were, how I was, and definitely how my mother was raised. I just don't understand how a 5th grader, but we want to set up something like that. And for what? I don't understand. I really don't. So that's my thoughts on my mom, Miss Gaitha Gray, who's about to be 70 on September the 10th. And I'm thankful that the Lord came through. And I'm thankful that the little boy decided to say, Miss Gray didn't do anything, because I don't know how this could. I mean, because what if she would have had to get an attorney and had to spend out money for that? Not only to lose money, but have to keep spending money to, keep your name from being sullied and possibly losing freedom. I don't know how that would have worked out or whatever, but I'm glad it worked out for her favor. But how do you come back? Would I have to do like a civil suit or something? I don't know. So those are my thoughts on that. That's my story time. I thank y'all for listening to me rant about this. I ain't feel like talking about Funky Not Even Them no more. I didn't feel like talking about them. I thought about talking about Cardi B, because her civil court case is funny. She does look like she's pregnant. But the court case is funny, but here that woman coming after her for $24 million. I don't know. See, and I was going to do this yesterday, and then right before I got ready to go live, my husband's aunt's house got shot up. And the thing about it is, you would think this has like some boys, going on with, I'm used to, because my brother used to be a hot boy. So, yeah, all the stuff he put my mama through, and me and my other brother was gone. My little brother was a mess. But this is not even like no kind of boy gang stuff. This is girls. All started on Facebook. These two girls, the girls are beefing. And I remember it was about 2 years ago. One of the other cousins was with the girls, which is my husband's aunt's grandkids. They was all together, and because they were beefing with a group of girls, the group of girls they were beefing with shot up the car. And they shot up the car, and one of the other cousins got shot multiple times. These are all girls. So last night when they shot up my husband's aunt's house, because these are grandkids over here, one little girl that came over there just visiting, she was standing in the door. She got shot in the shoulder, and they said it came out of her neck. The bullet did. So I'm like, dang, that's really messed up. Girls? I'm not used to, and the girls because the neighbor said they seen the girls get out the car. I think it was a girl and a boy, but they got out because they've been arguing all day. Because one lady was telling my daughter, since she was giving a whole rundown of everything. The lady, my daughter goes, see, it's funny how people don't even know who they talking to. And not knowing I'm related to these people over here. But said they've been back and forth all day. And the girls, I guess, they've been arguing on Facebook because my daughter had forwarded me all of the video because the one had a video of the other girl in the tub. I'm like, why would the girl make a video? And how did she get it? And she put it up on her stories. And it went from there, but it was more than that. They've been beefing there since somebody talked about somebody's nephew being dead. I don't know. So it started at the liquor store. It's just a whole bunch of mess because these girls, the grandkids, they're like all in their early 20s. And these are girls. And because one of them is pregnant. And big and pregnant. And was standing up in the liquor store. So they the girl came by there a couple times, and the last time she turned around and came back, and honey, they got out the car and just started spraying bullets. And so this other young lady who just got over there got shot. And in the house, it was the grandmother, which is my husband's aunt. She was not there. She was around the corner at her sister's house. But her daughters was there. The mother of the three girls who's keeping up mess. And the sisters, everybody in their 40s plus, and these young kids over here. Then one of the my husband's aunt's daughter had passed away, so she has her children, and they're, I think, 15, 13, and probably 9, and maybe 7. All them kids up in the house, and a little baby. That's about one. And they just spraying bullets. And here this other girl gets shot for no reason. That's ridiculous. Because I remember my little brother used to be in hot stuff. And my brother, he got shot when he was 16. And over a girl's house, a guy shot. And then they shot my brother. And my mom had got the message that he had gotten shot. She was on the phone with, I think, with my aunt. Because she was about to leave, and they came by my mom's house and shot up my other brother's car and shot up my mom's house. This was in the 90s. And because my other brother, he just got out of the military. And, he'd have been in the, the military like I had been to college, and he's at home. And actually, he just got in his car. And, I mean, they had big holes all through it. And my mom just was like, what in the world? And all of this was because somebody stepped on somebody's shoe. It's how it all started. And so my little brother, he got we make it down there to the hospital, and I see him laying on the gurney. I'm just screaming because he just looked dead. And he ended up, I think the bullet went in his arm and came out his armpit, and he had to get a metal rod in his arm. He had to do a lot of therapy behind that. So he told me every once in a while, he's 46 now. So this has been 30 years ago. He said, he has issue, how bones and stuff ache and stuff because of that. I said, I wonder how that, works out with you or whatever. But yeah. So this is a different world. So I'm not used to girls up here popping off like this. Boys, but the girls, I don't know. So that's why I didn't do it. I pushed it back to today. So now I'm about to go take my grandkids, going to get them some clothes for tomorrow because my daughter's at work. And we're going to go by my son's house, just go over and mess with him at his new house. So thank you for your time. And like I said, like, share, and subscribe. And y'all have a blessed weekend. Me and Brandy should be back on Monday to do our review on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Look, I'm so caught up, I don't know what to do now. Well, probably not Monday. Maybe Tuesday, because Monday's a holiday. And I ain't going to be wanting to do nothing anyways. So it'll probably be Tuesday. But y'all, thank you for listening to me talk about my mom. That's my mom, good old Gaitha Mae Gray. She hates me with no her middle name, but she's named after her grandma. So y'all have a great evening, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.